At Edwards Air Force Base, a B-52 mother plane carries aloft the X15 rocket plane for another in the painstaking series of development tests leading up to the epic mission for which it was designed: to carry a man beyond the fringes of the Earth's atmosphere and to return him to the ground.
1959 saw the first of 199 X-15 research flights, each one pushing the United States closer and closer to human spaceflight. And like all of NASA's experimental programs, piloting the X-15 required nerves of steel.
Ready to launch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's a good light.
The X-15 left little room for error. It was 50 feet long, almost all of which was fuel tank. And because it was too small to reach the upper atmosphere from the ground, it had to be dropped from a B-52 bomber at 30,000 feet. Once released, rocket boosters would shoot it towards the edges of space at supersonic speeds. The X-15 ascended until it ran out of fuel, then began an unpowered descent, essentially becoming a steel glider. NASA had 12 test pilots for the X-15, and among them was future Apollo 11 commander Neil Armstrong. Armstrong flew 7 X-15 missions, but it was his flight on April 20th, 1962, that would prove to be the most memorable. Armstrong's assignment that day was to test the X-15's new control system.
Ready to launch now. Good night.
When he separated from the wing of a B-52, Armstrong fired his engines. He accelerated at more than 5 times the speed of sound, reaching altitudes exceeding 200,000 feet. His control was good. But when he burned up all his fuel and was beginning his free-fall descent, the nose of his X-15 was still pointing up, which caused it to bounce off the atmosphere, throwing Armstrong nearly 50 miles off his intended course of Edwards Air Force Base in Southern California. The dry lake bed at Edwards was Armstrong's only option for a safe landing. Not only did he not have any power to go elsewhere, but because the X-15 used metal skids for landing gear, the dry mud of the lake bed was essential. Armstrong was falling back to Earth fast, and for several thousand feet, he couldn't maneuver the aircraft because of the thin atmosphere. Finally, he fell far enough that he could turn the X-15 and point it back towards Edwards Air Force Base, where he made an eventual safe landing. Armstrong's flight lasted 12.5 minutes and covered a distance of 350 miles, making it the longest X-15 flight, both in time and distance. Of course, none of that was by design, but it nonetheless added to the lore of the courageous pilot, who a few years later would become the first person to walk on the moon.